All right, it's 12 o'clock. Let's call the Economic Authority regular meeting for Tuesday, June 25th to order. Please call roll.
Larson.
Here.
Black.
Here.
Stai.
Here.
Grinde.
Here.
Hecht.
Here.
Horken. Helms.
Here.
Uniform.
Thank you. Approved minutes from May 28th, 2024 regular meeting.
I'll move. Second.
All opposed? Or all in favor, I should say, first.
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
I like your style. Any opposed? They're approved.
Thank you. Notice the competitors, Northern Valley Machine and Lumber Mart.
You just have to ask if there's.
Is there any comments from anybody? Bob, you got anything on Lumber Mart? No, I'm kidding.
Asked us to show up.
Yeah, there we go. All right, bills and communication.
And I guess if you got half in hand, so to speak, that you should come to these meetings.
Yeah.
So here we are. We're looking for some tax credits with our operation. We are making large investments continually into our operation, and we don't typically come to this group to ask for these things, but they're available to the businesses, and we think that we should take advantage of them if they are available. So we're making investments in saws, in our truss operation, new tables, people, equipment, training. We made major investment in trucks and in our facilities, new computer system and such. So we believe in putting a lot of money back into our operation to stay competitive with the market and what is going on with our market, so we can provide the best service that we possibly can. So that's why we're making this request.
And the program's available for businesses that are investing or if businesses that are threatened to leave too. In particular, those are the two target areas that we look at for using the credits. So we thank you, and we're glad that you decided to take advantage of it.
Well,
Okay.
you could say half in hand, so to speak. So
Yeah, there you go.
here we are.
Bills and communications. Review of accounts payable. Any questions? If so, direct them to Carla, please. Got any questions, comments, or concerns? No? Okay, thank you. Reports. Delinquency update.
We have none.
Director's report.
Do you have any questions?
Any questions for Paul on the reports? Financial reports. Again, referred to Carla.
Thank you. The financial reports through May of 2024 were emailed to you along with the audit. The audit, there was no findings in the audit. There also was a single audit because of we received federal funds over $750,000. There was no corrections or anything that needed to be done on that part for the federal. And then the cash balances for the EDA accounts is in your packet. The other point I'd like to make is that we have our account technician is starting on July 1st.
What is a single audit as compared to a multiple audit or whatever other kind of audit?
Single audit is a federal required audit when you receive over $750,000 worth of federal dollars.
Is it a single because it looks at a single year, or why is it called a single audit?
You can ask the government that, but that would be my guess,
Okay.
but yeah. So, and we don't have to do it every year. So last year we did not have a single audit. This year we did. Next year we're anticipating we will because we are spending the rest of our ARPA dollars on our roof here. So along with that, and transit puts us over the 750.
I was curious and just, thank you.
Any questions, comments? Thank you.
All right, unfinished business. New American Integration Center loan application update.
Remember, last month, it was postponed. I have contacted the New American Integration Center. I have not heard back from them. Last week, I was able to talk with St. Cloud, because one of the questions is how St. Cloud has a large Islamic population, Somali population, and I talked with them about how they deal with the interest situation with the loans. They actually have a couple of banks in the community that deal with fees instead of interest, and that they refer their Somali applicants to the banks to deal with that, and I'll be getting more information on that I can share with you. But I thought that I would bring you up to date on where we are.
Any questions for Paul on that? Okay. All right, new business, loan request, Spud Jr.
Spud Jr. is requesting some monies. They are trying to consolidate and redo some of their loans, and it's just a case of so they can move forward. And they asked for just about $80,000, and they have coverage that it is well beyond. So this is far less than 1/3 of the amount. Okay. And the loan committee recommended approval.
Any questions for Paul, myself, or the loan committee on that? Looking for a motion.
I'll move that we do the loan.
I'll
I second.
Please call roll.
Larson,
Yes.
Black,
Yes.
Stai,
Yes.
Grinde,
Yes.
Hecht,
Yes.
Helms,
Yes.
motion carried.
Use of border city tax credits for Northern Valley Machine.
Border Cities tax credits is always being requested to go elsewhere, and we value them here. They're one of our primary businesses. Mr. Walski was unable to attend today's meeting, but you've worked with him before on this, and he's asking for 2 years of tax credits. The loan committee recommended approval.
And the funding is available to do this?
We have over $580,000 of credits available to us right now. We won't have quite as much after these two businesses, after you approve this, but yes, we have plenty. That's
Yep.
what it's for.
Exactly. I'll make the motion.
Second.
Call roll, please.
Larson,
Yes.
Black,
Yes.
Stai,
Yes.
Grinde,
Yes.
Hecht,
Yes.
Helms,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right, use of city's tax credits for Lumber Mart.
Lumber Mart has also asked for tax credits. We heard a little bit from Trent Peabody earlier, and the loan committee recommended approval of 3 years for their tax credits. They're investing like $1.3 million within the last couple of years.
I'll make the motion on that. I'll second.
Thank you. Please call roll.
Justin, that was you.
Larson,
Yes.
Black,
Yes.
Stai,
Yes.
Grinde,
Yes.
Hecht,
Yes.
Helms,
Yes.
motion carried.
Thank you, Mr. Peabody.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for everything.
And thank you for your investment in the community.
Absolutely.
We appreciate that.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a
And
good day.
remember, this is not something available across the river.
And I'm very cognizant that it is available at other things. And what you have here, we have a program that could be and should be used more than it probably is.
Sure.
And not everybody is asking for money. And I think that's what the border city allows you to do, is take care of those type of situations.
Absolutely.
And we appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And I know
Thank you.
you got a contractor paying for a sidewalk. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Good luck.
Thank you.
And Trent, when? You've got it Monday? Good luck to you.
Good luck, buddy.
Yep, see you later.
All right, update on director interviews and use of recruiter.
In a nutshell, before I turn it over to Reed, we advertised locally. Not when I say locally, I mean we did it from the city as opposed to using any recruiter. We had 5 applicants. 3 of them were qualified. All 3 have, unfortunately for us, fortunately for me, have not. I said unfortunately for me, because my wife would like me to come home. The 3 qualified candidates all withdrew, so now we're in a position to re-advertise. Reed reached out to some recruiters, and maybe, Reed, at this point, you can complete with a thought.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. And I would just say that the 2 applicants that remain, they would be, when we renew this process, they would still be included to be a part of it. We just felt the 2 that were remaining wasn't enough of a good sample size to conduct a real quality interview process. So we had determined we should take pause and see if we can generate some more applicants. I requested proposals for a search process from 3 firms. David Drown Associates and the Next Move Group submitted information to us. Baker Tilly also conducts executive searches. They did not respond to our request. The 2 requests in front of us are a little different in each form. The first one, David Drown, Human Resources, they indicated that they did not have, due to the other ongoing searches, executive searches they have going, they did not have the time or the capacity to complete a full search process for us, which would include their people coming to the community to be a part of and conduct the interview process and carry through to final selection. So what they suggested is sort of a hybrid version where they could advertise the position for us through their markets and conduct all of the outreach and recruitment for us. But once they had a group of qualified candidates and applicants for us, they would basically hand those applicants to us for the city to conduct the interview process ourselves. That does come at a little bit of a reduced price from what we're used to seeing for executive search fees, $12,000. The downfall of that process is that it does not come with any type of guarantee from the firm. You'll see that in the proposal from the Next Move Group. Their proposal is $20,750. Had David Drown Associates offered a search to the full capacity, their price would be right in that same 20,000 or so area. The positive of the Next Move Group and the full search with them involved all the way through to the interview and the final offer for the position is that it comes with a full guarantee. If the applicant that we offer the job to doesn't work out and leaves the position for any reason in the first 12 months, they'd completely redo the search for us at no cost. The David Drown Associates offer does not come with that guarantee. It's a $12,000 price to conduct the search for us with no guarantee to back it, essentially. So that's the difference between the 2. Paul talked about our internal advertisement, our local advertisement. We had that advertised on 6 or 7 different forums all across the state and country. We spent just short of $2,000 advertising that position. It was advertised on the Next Move Group's site, just as all of their positions are where they're conducting the search. It was advertised on League of Minnesota Cities, on Economic Development Authority of Minnesota, of North Dakota, you name it, Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities, any of those types of advertising forums we have, the Grand Forks Herald online, certainly our website. The real difference I see that we would get from investing in a search firm is the person or people that would be conducting the actual recruitment. I think that's the piece that we don't have the capacity to do, or the contacts, the networks to do, is to make those phone calls and reach out to people that these search firms know of candidates that are maybe looking for that next step in their career, and they'd be able to make those connections. So I don't have a really immediate recommendation for your group, one way or another, on if you prefer one firm over the other. I just wanted to make sure you understood the difference between the two and maybe open it up for discussion or questions at this point.
Go ahead.
Just out of curiosity, since we had applicants that withdrew in the process, I guess, are we sure that we have everything correct in the job description, the salary, the benefit, all the stuff that we have there, is that right? Or are we coming in too low and that's the reason why we had people pull out? Or I'm just curious, or did we not have something in the job description right and people are confused? Because I don't want to spend the money on something if we don't have the first part correct,
Right.
I guess.
Yeah, that's a fair question to ask. I think specifically it's each case is different. The first of the three that pulled out, it was a timing issue. They got offered a job elsewhere before our application period even closed. One of them, I'd say the other two, the last two that dropped out, were probably salary dependent. I wouldn't say that that specifically means that our advertised salary wasn't competitive, but for whatever reason, they chose to stay at their current place of employment because they maybe matched salary with what we were advertising, or decided that to take maybe a parallel move to our community just wasn't the right time for their family, is what we understood. Now, I did ask the question to the recruiter for David Drown & Associates. They have an advertisement active right now for a county in southern Minnesota. That position there, they are advertising at a higher salary than what we are. And we got into pretty good detail in that discussion. That county basically has a really strong director with many, many years of experience retiring. And their county board, their economic development board, said that they wanted to replace the director outgoing with an equally as experienced and qualified candidate. So they were looking for someone with 10 plus years of experience as an executive director of a department. And David Drown Associates has completed that search, and they moved 2 candidates forward as finalists based out of 24 original applicants. When I talked about the salary range that we advertised and paired that up with that we're looking for probably a candidate with 2 to 4 years of experience in the economic development field, that maybe is looking to take the next step up in their career into that director's role. When I referenced the salary that we had advertised, she felt as though that she would be able to generate quality candidates for us at the salary range we're advertising. That's just her view and her opinion. She thought of the 24 candidates she had in Canada-Yohoy County that she would be able to, she said off the top of her mind, she could think of 8 right away that she thought would fit the bill for what we're looking for.
That was with the DDA firm?
That's the DDA firm.
So, my initial thought was the full goal, the $20,000 one. With the next movement group, I like the guarantee that they give in there. Plus, I like the hands-on, going out, actively recruiting them, getting them, going through the whole process. But with what you just said, if they've got a pool of applicants that they just interviewed for positions, do they feel that they can get one of those 24 or a couple of those interested?
We didn't get that far for her to be able to say outright that she thinks they'd be interested. She said she felt like she'd be able to find quality candidates for us. Whether they'd be interested and would apply, that she didn't go that far.
Okay.
But
Nor would she know that.
yeah, would she know?
I guess in my mind, I was just kind of thinking that if they've just been through the process and have a pool of candidates ready, maybe it's not so bad to take that route, but there's still no guarantee with it. But I was just thinking that it would have been a complete brand new search for them.
Yeah. When I spoke with, and I'll admit, I spoke more with the DDA person than I did with the Next Move group. But the Next Move, I don't have as much experience with. The person with the DDA that I spoke with, just fully open, is the person that handled the recruitment for the city administrator job. So I got to know her fairly well through that process. The Next Move, I didn't speak as detailed with them. I don't know as much about their process. I just know that the guarantee that they offer has value. DDA would typically offer that as well if they felt like they had the capacity to do it. I did feel, though, really confident getting off the phone with DDA that they had candidates that they thought would fit the bill of what we're looking for. And I think I'd gather the opinion that they probably, I would venture to guess that they have a better feeling of the Minnesota market than the Next Move Group would.
Are they more local than the
Yeah,
other?
they're a Minnesota-based company where the Next Move Group is more of a national. They're set themselves up as a national search firm. Not the DDA doesn't extend beyond Minnesota, but they're a Minnesota-based company.
And I have a friend who works for Candy Yogi and has basically talked about, I talked with her about the process, and they were happy and pleased with the services that David Drown and Associates provided them. Obviously, it's a little bit different with the guarantee versus the no guarantee, but they are happy with the candidates they got.
Yeah. Do we
Do you
think
want
it's
me to talk
probably
about the other part, Reed? The other person I talked to about the backup plan?
Sure, you can offer that, yeah.
Last week, I also had a chance to talk with a friend of mine who works for a firm that does economic development work. And the what if we can't find a replacement for me? And can they step in and can they handle it? And it's a firm that I trust. And interestingly enough, it has to be a firm that the president of the chamber is a good friend with the president of the firm as well, and he knows the quality of the firm as well. So I talked with him. Yes, they can step in and do the services. I talked about one possible proposal before I even bounced it through Reed, but I talked with one possible proposal that's gone through my mind on how to keep the cost on a very low basis for the city for doing that. So we do have that as a possible backup too.
Yeah, and I think we're hoping it doesn't have to come to that, right? I mean, our whole goal is to have a director that people in the community can
Yes.
deal with on a day-to-day basis, reach out for questions, get answers on things. How do we proceed with this? Where do we find money for this and that? Where I feel we just aren't going to get that from a firm. They're going to probably take care of some more of the, answering a few questions, not the day-to-day. But, and not to say the firm won't do a good job, but I think what we want to obviously fill the role.
Well, I went through some of the things that are peculiar to the border cities with them as well, so that they are aware that we're different than most of the communities in the state, that there are only 5 communities that have these disparity tax credits, for example, or the border cities tax credits that are available. And obviously, that's not something, he was surprised because he was not aware that we had done these things. At the same time, they have people who are skilled enough to handle those things as well, from my own experience. Yeah. So, but that's, and I'm not trying to sway one way or the other, okay? I'm just offering this as a backup plan.
Yeah, I think that might make it as like gap coverage almost, you know, from when you retire and we celebrate that to when we can finish this. I think it's good to have that plan in our back pocket, and we should look at the financial impacts of that just so that everyone's on board, or at least has had a chance.
How does that look, though? Do they send somebody here? Is it Zoom? Is it temporary? Is it, I mean, how does that?
I kind of wonder about the implementation too.
Yes, yes to all of that.
Right.
What I had, Reed, if I may, what I had talked about is the possibility of having one person come up here, drive up on Tuesday, maybe be here for by noon for our EDA meetings, be here all Tuesday afternoon, be here Wednesday morning, and then drive back to their home base, Twin Cities area, on Wednesday afternoon, and then do the rest of it by Zoom or by telephone, so that there would be a presence here at least once a week for an 8-hour period, Tuesday afternoon, Wednesday morning. But going beyond that, there would also be a presence by Zoom or by telephone.
Sure, and I would assume that if we wanted more, we would pay more, right?
Yes.
Like it's kind of a la carte, it feels like a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't necessarily, I'm not against this idea by any means, but asking how we implement this would be one of the parts, but also, I guess, I'd be interested to know how that person would interact then with Reed, because I would assume somebody would have to pick up some of the other slack that isn't being covered at that point. So how that would be taken up, so.
Well, what I would presume is that probably Reed and Brenda and Megan would answer questions as they needed to, or refer them to the right person to answer those questions. Because there is some knowledge that will be based in the economic development firm that we won't have here locally. So we're going to have to make those referrals. And, you know, I got a call yesterday from a business that needs to do a business plan, and that's what the SBDC does, for example. So I'm referring them to the SBDC to work on their business plan for a possible new business in town, retail business. And referrals are things that happen. We do it for workforce, for everything else, too.
Experienced.
Reed, do you have any other thoughts on that?
No, I think I'd just reiterate on that to Justin's point initially is that's not, we don't want to have to use that process at all if we don't need to. And I think Paul needed to do the work to start to put the proposal together or receive a proposal in the event it is needed, but it's hard to define what any of that looks like until we decide what our search process looks like and try to define a timeline, right? And then once we know the timeline of an expected search and potential hire, then we'll have a better idea of how we need to fill the gap, I think.
And we're down to the last 2.5 months, right? You are done mid-August?
Well, Reed and Josh have both asked, and what I told them, my goal is to be home by Thanksgiving.
Okay.
So we can stay over. What I have to deal with is I have to give 60 days notice on my lease.
Mm-hmm.
And my lease runs out at the end of August, so it'll convert to a month-to-month, and I'll have to talk with them on it. So just so you're aware.
So you do have some time, because one of the things you said is with a new candidate, you would be willing to take some time to do crossover time.
A couple of weeks.
Yeah,
would be good.
and that would be very, very helpful, but if you have an interim partner, they
makes it a little bit harder.
leave at the end of that time, and they're not training the new person. So I think that knowledge and experience would be very useful for that overlap.
But what Reed and I haven't talked about, and one of the things that's crossed my mind is if you needed to, you could always invite me back up to go through for a week or so, working with a new candidate if we do have to do something like that. And because it's always lovely to come up to East Grand Forks in the middle of the winter. Okay? I mean, how can you deal with all the nice, lovely weather that we have
It's
here?
gorgeous.
We'll send the corporate jet.
Oh, of course. Okay.
I guess my question is kind of along the lines of Daniel there, but because I don't like any of our deals, we always hire these consultants and everybody else to do all this thing. Are we doing something wrong in our advertising or our approach of trying to hire somebody, or is there something that's, are we not using our media and our internet and our stuff properly? I mean, what do these people have over us that they can advertise that we can't, I guess is kind of my...
As a professional in the field, you don't necessarily look at ads that would come from certain places, but a recruiter, for example, can reach out to a field. I still get requests to apply for several other positions. Usually every couple of weeks I get a request to apply for positions. So they reach out to the pool of candidates they've had in the past, which is not something that we have access to. It's just a difference in the people whom they can reach as opposed to whom we can reach.
I guess that would be, the other thing is that, as Justin was saying, if they already got a pool of people and she thinks that she might possibly be able to pull somebody out of there, did they not get or see this ad that we had out there to hire these people, or
Not
or is it just
necessarily.
because they're in that pool and that's the way it is?
What Paul's saying is most of these people probably aren't looking for jobs, so they're not seeing our
These
advertising.
are headhunters.
From a professional standpoint, I know myself too, is that you get emails from recruiters when you're not looking for things.
Right.
And, those things come across your desk, and some of them, it's exactly what we're talking about when we're looking for somebody who may be looking for the next step, but maybe they haven't started actually looking yet, and something comes across their desk and we capture one of those candidates. That's what this firm offers, is the ability to go out and get those. And I do see the advantage to that.
Yeah.
Well, they do it singularly too. You know, it's just
Right.
like you run a bus, you wouldn't want me to run your bus station, you know, your
That's for sure.
You do it singularly, and then for somebody to have a pool, all of these consulting firms, whether it's for EDA or municipals, they have a pool of candidates that they can go back to
Over and over and
just,
over.
well, just through time. You know, they've placed them through time, and they have them all over the state, where we, just by advertising and putting it out there, we just don't have that expertise. We don't have that stable out there. All of these recruiters and consultants, they have all of that already in place.
The other advantage
They've been
that
doing
these
it for
people
years.
have too is that like they could be contacting somebody like Paul who's about ready to retire, or somebody who's been in the position for a long time, and they may say, yeah, I'm not really interested, but I know these 6 other people that are really great.
Yes.
Maybe these
Yeah.
people are some people that you should go with.
That's what happened, like even for me, Crystal Sugar contacted me through my email because of my master's license that they get through the state to this and that. It happens all the time.
And when I get contacted, I always get asked if there are other candidates, if I can send them names of other people.
So if I get this straight here, Paul, our next meeting is July 23rd, right?
Yes.
So what I'm getting at is if we pump the brakes on this until our July 23rd meeting, maybe we could have more of a,
I think we need to try pick a firm to go ahead with, don't we?
Yeah, I think
I think we need to go ahead and pick a firm as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't
think so.
prolong it anymore.
Well, I've got one question with that too. Reed, do you think that there's any opportunity that, first of all, I like the proposal for the higher one with them having all the hands on, them doing all the work and their guarantee. And for only $8,000 more, I like all that comes with that. For $12,000, I'm concerned that we're going to spend 12 grand and be sitting here in 2 months talking about this again. Where do we go now? Where do we spend money? What do we do? Do you think there's any possibility of going back? The reason I'm asking this is because I feel like you're way more comfortable with the DDA firm and have confidence in them, and not to say we don't have confidence in the other firm, but the communication that you've had with them and already know them a little bit. Is there any chance that they would be able to do the same thing as the other firm and be the full hands-on, go through the interviews and everything, and looking at around the same price point?
I would expect the price point to be very similar. I
Yep.
can extend the question back. I mean, for a follow-up, I can ask that.
Because I feel like with both of you being comfortable with that firm, that's where I would like to lean towards then.
Yeah.
But I like the proposal from the other one better, with all the hands-on, the year guarantee of coming back and redoing the search
Yeah.
if somebody declines it or leaves within that first 12 months.
I
I don't
agree.
want to spend $12,000 and they just find the candidates and we have to go through everything
Yeah.
and nobody takes it, and then we're at square one again.
Right. That would be another question worth asking. I would expect that if they carried us through and handed us a pool of applicants and we ran an interview process and none of them, we didn't get a hire out of it at all, I would expect they would be willing to run a recruitment for us again with no more cost.
Okay.
The thing that isn't there is if we get a hire out of it and 6 months into it, the hire leaves for whatever reason, we'd be back to square one.
And I'm okay with that. It's more if we didn't get anything and we spent 12 grand and
Yeah.
we didn't get anything. I guess if we lose somebody after 6 months and have to start over and
Yeah.
put more money into it, and we didn't pay the 8,000 more for the guarantee, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I guess if we could make a motion contingent upon some of these things that you're talking about to go ahead with them, either they do the full process or, yes, they will continue to search for us until we find an applicant.
Right.
I suppose we can make a motion on that, or
Until we get a hire.
until you get a hire, right?
Yeah.
A motion on that, unless everybody else wants to just go ahead with the full, I guess,
where
my
did these
thoughts.
funds come from to pay for this?
That was my other question. Do we have it in our budget, or is it out of the city budget?
That's-
Well, it technically is out of the city budget because the city budget funds the EDA. So you have your own fund, but the money comes from the general fund.
Do we need council approval then?
Because of the amount, I think you need council
So,
approval.
yeah, the council technically is supposed to approve all purchases over $25,000. So that wouldn't
Well,
fall in this case.
maybe not.
However, that would be determined if Paul has the funds in his budget.
I don't have the funds in the budget, I can
So
tell you
then if he
that.
doesn't have the funds in the budget, then yes, council would need to approve.
Okay, because are we concerned that we're going to run into something where, I know there's certain people that just thought that we could do away with position altogether, so are they going to approve to spend $20,000 just for a search for the position?
It's a fair question to ask. Yeah, I don't have an answer.
Right.
Yeah.
So which one are you motioning on, the 20,000?
Pete,
Or
may
the 12?
may I ask a question?
Yes, Paul.
Reed, is it, with DDA, is it a case if they can't do it now with the timetable? Could they, if the timetable were deferred, and we talked a timetable this morning, by 2 or 4 weeks, might they be able to handle the full process?
Yeah, that's a question I can get for follow-up too. I don't have that answer. Part of it was timeliness, the timing for them to have the capacity to do it. And I'll be honest, the other part of it is I think I share a lot of the same feelings that Mr. Helms feels about the cost of, there's a time and need for this search, but when we brought this 6 weeks ago, I was the one telling you all, we don't need to spend the money on a search firm if we have good candidates right here that can do the job. I still would love to feel that way.
That's what I worry about when we hire these people. Are we going to just hire all these people and spend the money and then hire somebody locally like we do everything else?
That's
Or are we going to do the job?
Well, because if I remember right, we initially had 24 applicants, right?
I'm sorry, for what?
Initially, with the way we did it, we had 24 applicants, right, that got weeded through.
For the director, this
Yes.
process, no, we had 5 applicants.
I thought it was
Total
more
of
than that,
5.
right?
No, just 5.
24 was what they had down in Candiyoe.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's where that came from.
Yeah, 5 applicants. So the 12,000, part of their proposal was cost-based too. You know, when I was speaking with David Drown and Associates, it was twofold. It was one, do you have the time to do it? And it was two, we don't want to spend a lot of money on this search if we don't need to. And so we came up with sort of this hybrid for that. But if there's a desire to have the full search with the full guarantee, I can extend that question back and see what the timeline would look like for that and how they could accommodate. I'm sure they'll do their best to do so if that's what we prefer.
Yeah, I like the point of that this is what they do every day, and for them to go through and even asking the questions for interview. I didn't know that we've talked about it too, about the questions that could be asked in interviews, and we, find guidelines and, templates of certain things too. But when this is what they do every day, they're really going to weed through the questions that should be asked and answered and know the things to go through. That's why I like the full proposal. And I guess me not knowing anything about one or the other, just hearing with what you and Paul are comfortable with DDA makes me kind of start leaning more towards them, which I wasn't at first.
How quickly can you hear back from DDA, you think, on this?
That's maybe an issue in itself. There's other people at DDA that I will start with, but this Liza that would lead our search is in Spain until I believe July 2nd, July 5th, somewhere in that area.
I'm not against if that's really the route that we want to go. I mean, if we need to have some sort of special meeting to
And
get this out there, that's okay with me, because I do think that this is something that's very important that we need to get taken care of sooner rather than later.
Yeah. But that's what I was wondering, if we all want to go the DDA route, if we can make a motion contingent upon some of those things, so we don't have to wait for another meeting or call another meeting. And if that's not the case, then we alternate too, I guess.
I think I'm not as comfortable with doing a contingent, only because I want to hear what they're going to
I
have
agree.
to say. And I want to hear what kind of guarantees.
'Cause it's
going
gonna bring more
Since we're
questions.
changing that.
Yeah.
Just to do our due diligence before, like, you're talking about spending this amount of money for something. I want to make sure that we're at least looking at everything.
And if they do add more in, it may go to the 20,000.
Right.
It may be the same cost.
I would expect it to be in the area of 20,000.
Yeah.
And that's what I meant, if it's contingent on, if we make it contingent on that, if they're offering the full interview process too for 20,000, that yes, we go ahead with it. But I agree.
So maybe-
I mean, seeing what
Especially
they're
since it has to
offering.
go to the council.
I was just gonna.
I'd like to make sure that we do our part because it has to go to the council first.
So why couldn't we do a motion to ask the council for funding of up to?
I think the council is going to want to hear exactly what they're going to get for the money.
And
Well,
If I were in their shoes, that's what I'd ask
I think
Josh.
we're running into an issue if we don't have all of the paperwork when it comes to knowing what they're gonna give us, but here's the proposal. When we go out for advertising or we ask for people to give us a quote, and then you go, well, I'm really comfortable with you guys, so let's go back at it. Even though it's a request for proposal, it's just kind of a poor way of going about approving something in the future if you're setting that type of a precedence, you know?
Yeah.
It's professional services, though, to that
I want to
degree.
be able
I
to,
get that.
but I'd like to be able to compare the two
Yeah.
I get
before
that.
I make a decision for exactly what you're talking about for that reason.
Yeah.
Do you think we can get an answer back for a meeting on the 9th?
That's what I was going to suggest as well, is if we look at the July 9th meeting, bring some information back to that.
So we would table today then until we have proposals that are apples to apples, whatever.
We'll
you wanna
just
call it.
hold it
Yeah.
off. We don't have to
Yeah,
even
'cause
formally table it.
I agree
I
with
guess
it.
unless somebody wants to make the motion to go ahead with the 12,000.
I think we've got the, I think we've
I
got the
don't.
time
Yeah,
to
Not
get
at
it.
this time.
I mean, for what we were talking about, I guess, I'm just speaking my opinion. I don't know if other people
Yeah.
out here are comfortable.
I
I would
agree
do
with
the
Paul
full-
in that too, and I think Mr. Larson can vouch for me here. I think that we need our ducks in order when we go to the council
yeah,
because we
yeah.
have just way too many people,
Yeah.
I'll say on the other side, for lack of a better way to put it.
Just a question too on that. So if for some reason, if we weren't being backfilled by the city budget to the EDA budget, would we have to go through this process of asking the council, even though it's under 25,000, if we had money in the EDA budget
It's
for this?
because we didn't include money for a recruiter in the budget.
We didn't budget it yet.
Okay, it was not budgeted. I reduced, remember the council was really concerned about the budget last year, so I slashed everything that I could, and there is no money in the budget for something like this.
And of the two people that are left, are they qualified? Did anybody interview the two? You said like there was 3 that dropped
Yeah.
out, but 2 left?
They haven't participated in any interviews. They're
Okay.
qualified enough that we could include them in an interview, but I don't feel that it was a high enough qualification that they would be the only 2 we would interview.
Okay.
And actually extending this, if the DDA firm is on board with, they didn't have the time right now when you talk to them, maybe extending and saying, we're not even going to approve something until July, we wouldn't be starting until mid-July.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll have the time to look at
Yeah.
offering something then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Out of curiosity, I'm just curious is would we be able to get either somebody from either one of these 2 firms to show up to that special meeting? If we had questions, just so that
Yeah.
they're here to answer that stuff?
Maybe virtually.
Virtually,
Virtually, I can certainly.
that was
yeah.
what I was thinking.
Yep.
That way then,
I can
it's a lot
certainly
less
ask them
asking
to.
you questions, not to say that you don't have the answers, but
Yep.
if we need to, we can
Absolutely.
directly answer that or ask them.
Yep.
I don't know how everybody would feel about that.
Yep, I like it.
If we could get that set up, I would appreciate that too, Reed.
Absolutely.
So we're planning on a meeting for the 9th of July.
Yes.
Everybody okay with that?
Do you need a motion to table?
No, we don't, because it is a case of going forward, we're not moving forward, so we
Okay.
just don't need a motion. It's not like one of the other things we have on here.
So to meet on the 9th, July 9th?
Yes.
I can.
I'm good.
I want to just make a note that everybody see this second to last page on
Yeah.
option 1 and option 2. I mean, we can save almost $1,500 if we went with that company, we paid it in
Pay up
full.
front. Yep.
And I would hope that, I mean,
Right.
$1,500 would pay Ron's salary for us, so. No,
You're cheap, bro.
For a day. For a
no, I mean,
day.
I just want to make sure everybody's seen that so that we can go that route if that's.
And
what we end up
typically,
doing.
we just pay the full amount always.
Do you?
Yes.
Okay. I
I
didn't know
think he's
how,
only referring.
because they had
to
payments
the
or
bus
anything, I
station.
didn't know how you did that.
Yeah, now you can.
So just one more thing. I had a couple of phone calls last 3 weeks. we were able to take care of one with a home loan. The other one needed with Mr. Gallstad, but he was tied up. About Dave Vonish, that lot for his son over by me. It was, but it's taken so long, it's this, it's that, and so I just want to bring it up here.
I can answer some of those questions.
I know 200 of them with you too, but just with the board and.
Yep. Basically, that Dave Vonish lot, there was some issues regarding that sale to the Vonish, on the Vonish lot. There was a multiple of issues regarding the original plat, the replat. We've got all of that taken care of. In doing so, there was a shifted boundary line between the neighboring properties, Pesh property and this property that we were selling. In doing that, on the Pesh property, there's a couple of mortgages. Okay, I've been in contact, or I've made numerous contacts. I got a release and a ratification on the replat, and one of the primary mortgage lender, to go ahead and say everything is fine with the sale of this lot, and we'll replat it, okay, or agree with the replat, and then just relocate that mortgage to the new lot. The one that I'm having difficulty with, there's very little that's even due. I think but it's the SBA. And I have written the SBA, I've called the SBA, I've written them again, I've sent them all the information, and because it's probably, I think there's 2 years left of the loan at this point, and it's a minimal amount of money. And talking about the SBA, I'm not hearing back from anybody on that. So before we can sell that lot, I have to get the SBA to agree, and I have to get the SBA to shift their mortgage. And it just hasn't happened to this point. And I finally, to be honest with you, threw my hands up in the air and say I don't know where to go with it.
Well, I don't blame you.
And I told that to, well, everybody that's potentially asked me at this point.
Right.
With the exception of, and I got releases from the Peshes that I've sent, that says you can talk to me. I've done all of that stuff, but I've gotten absolutely nowhere with the SBA. So if somebody else, like I've said it to Reed before, if somebody else wants to take this on and have at it, maybe they'll talk to somebody else, but it's just not working for me. There's not much money left. I think it was a 15, maybe even a 30-year loan, and it was $30,000, that the SBA has on it, and there's just a minimal amount. I mean, we'll say $3,000 left on it, and I don't know.
It's SBA.
Yep, and I just don't know if it's not worth their time. I have no idea. But no, I've talked to people and they shift you around, and then you can't talk to this person, and they got to go look at the file to see if there's a release in it, and then the release was too old, so I had to get a new release, and it just turned into a nightmare. So I just said,
Is this plot moving to the south then? Is that what you want to do?
Well, it's just straightening it out.
It's straightening a lot line.
Yeah, well, what happened?
Oh, just straightening it out.
There was a straightening a lot line because because there was a call that didn't close, and then we had to replat that, and we replatted it so that the lots are now legal, so to speak. But in doing so, part of the lots are across that original boundary line, and there's a new legal description, right? So there's two slivers that these mortgages attached to that are no longer in that. So what happens right now, if that, we'll just call it the Vonish lot, the proposed Vonish lot, there's still a mortgage from the SBA on that lot. Nobody's going to accept that lot without that mortgage being released.
Correct.
So with that little bit that's owed on it, would he not just pay that and get it cleaned up and be done, or?
Well,
I don't think he believed that that's his
Some
issue.
of the PESH, some
Yeah.
of the PESH is SBA, not.
I understand that, but why don't he just pay the Peshes what they owe on it and have them pay it off and be done, and then?
Go ahead and ask him.
Yeah.
I mean, but Vaughnish himself, he doesn't want to pay Pesh's
lot.
Yeah.
loan.
Right, I understand that, but if he wants a lot bad enough, and wants to get it all cleared up, and
Well, that-
you're not getting anywhere else with it, maybe that's the route they'll have to take.
And if I remember right, wasn't it worded in there that had to be done before lot could be sold?
Well, you're just not getting any lender that's going to take and be in a second position to the SBA no matter what it.
Right, no, but on the purchase agreement,
Oh, I guess I haven't looked at.
I
that
don't remember.
purchase
It's been too
agreement at this
long.
point.
And did the lot have to be straightened out, or did they
It
want?
did.
Yes.
Everything had to be fixed. Yes, so it had to be done. And I guess, I mean, I understand Mr. Vonish's position, but I guess the position that I would be taking is he's had a shed on that lot that he doesn't own for about 3 years.
Yeah,
So,
And Ron's done yeoman's work on this to try to get it resolved.
and I know it,
Just,
and I know exactly what's going on.
Yep, I'm not
Yeah.
taking
I know-
any offense.
I know
I'm just
you're
saying.
not.
So what you're
done
saying
with it.
is they've only put the down payment on the lot, they haven't paid for the whole lot. That's what the
That's
issue
correct.
is?
that's
too.
correct.
Okay, so they owe probably $25,000.
29,000, I think,
Okay.
because I think it's a $30,000 or $35,000 lot.
Yeah,
so then if this doesn't get corrected, what's gonna happen with that lot? Are we gonna give it
Well,
down
it'll
payment back?
it'll ultimately get corrected, and I'd have to double check, but in my mind, it's 2 years. It's 2 more years, because then it'll actually be paid off, and then the SBA will it'll release their mortgage, it'll no longer be attached to that lot, and then the issue kind of resolves itself, so to speak.
Would somebody at a bank that is an SBA-approved lender have a direct contact with somebody at SBA that might be able to help?
that's like calling Army Corps of Engineers to.
Well, like
underneath
Franson,
the dike.
I think Franson is an SBA-approved lender, so if they're doing
Pretty
a lot of
much.
loans through SBA, they might have a direct contact that they deal with directly for all their loans.
I can ask Jack, I talked to Jack quite a bit.
I mean, maybe that might be something that might help.
Maybe.
Because if they're the banks dealing with a certain person all the time, you probably have a lot more luck than just trying to get
At
all the
least
best
he might have a
BA.
name of somebody anyway.
Yeah, well, and I'll tell you what, I'm willing to try anything, and I haven't thought about that, so that's probably not a bad answer. I just have been trying to deal with, and I have
Directly to
talked to
SBA.
individuals there and get bounced around, and then it goes nowhere, and you don't want me sitting on the line for 6 hours.
No.
Well, I was gonna say.
Well,
the
no,
other-
but.
I didn't
and
budget
then
for
you
6
sit there
hours.
For 6 hours, and then they tell you they can't help you right now anyway, because they've got somebody else that you need to talk to.
Or they cut the
Yeah,
cord
that's
on
the
their
other side of the
phone.
coin.
Yeah.
How much is it costing us while you're trying to get all this thing done?
Well, because that's where I guess I'm going with it, because it was indicated to me that be asking for a steep discount because interest rates were X and now they're Y, and that's why I just wanted to bring it up.
Well, and I guess the discount, I mean, from my standpoint, he doesn't have to buy the lot.
Right.
But we could charge him rent.
Well, I mean, the issue is that we were dealing with the issue when he put the money down,
Correct.
And he knew it.
and he knew it, and it's not, and it hasn't been fixed, so he understood that. So I don't know if once it's fixed, I think you can get every penny for that lot.
Oh, yeah.
Whether he wants to pay for it
Or not.
or not, But that being said, that's just me.
The communication with them has been good, then we've been explaining what's been going on and what the issue is.
I haven't been directly in contact, other than I respond to emails or a question, or somebody like Mr. Horken or Mr. Grinde or Mr. Larson will ask me, and then I'll give them the information, and then they pass it on to the buyer. I personally think I've only talked to Mr. Vonish or his dad one time.
I
And-
wasn't thinking that it was you.
Yeah.
I was kind of asking it as a question for the whole group.
He's contacted,
Yeah. And I understand the frustration on their end,
but it goes, and that's what I kind of said.
but I just basically ran into a wall.
Yeah.
You know, and it just it hasn't worked.
And anytime anybody on the board or whomever gets a call, they call me,
Yes.
and we update, and it's the same answer
And
every
so
time.
Basically, this has been communicated many a times. I just wanted to make sure, hey, but everybody's aware.
I had assumed that was the case. I just wanted
Yes.
to make sure for
And
the
that's-
record that we had.
This is formal, informal. Is that a good way to put it? Ron, I won't go to court over that. But thank you.
You're good. And I mean, I understand what the Bonishes are asking and what they would like to see, and I just want to let them know personally, I've done pretty much everything that I could do. And then the last 6 months, I haven't done anything because I just pretty much lost interest in doing it.
When he started, he had dark hair. You could see what it's done to him.
Those are highlights, right, Ron?
Highlights.
Yeah.
So is there agreement
this
that they
isn't
have to build
becoming a
within
bald
so
spot.
many years, once they buy it?
That was my.
Well, but it hasn't been bought.
No, I'm just
He put money
saying
down
you put the
before
money down,
COVID.
he paid for it. Is there a timeline when they're supposed to build within a certain timeline when they buy the lot?
The EDA does not enforcing that.
Okay, that's what I
Because we want to
thought.
sell the lot, so there
so-
is no particular time that he
Okay.
has to build within.
Correct. And they've been maintaining it.
Oh, yeah, no, I
Keep it
mean,
in
yes.
mode and-
Not on, to answer her question, not on this particular lot, but isn't there on other lots? And don't they, when they buy a lot, don't they have like 2 years or something to build?
Not anymore.
It used to be that- it used to be that way.
We discussed it at the EDA level.
I just want to make sure y'all knew
and I
that.
It was
think that
more
all
important
got-
to sell the lots and keep the lots sold.
I want to say that.
Our goal was to make sure that we did not have to maintain those lots because
Yeah.
of the cost of maintaining those. We'd rather
Because if
just
I
sell them.
remember right, my lot was probably one of the last ones on that had to be built in a time frame,
Yes.
in which I was fine.
That's
with
why
because
you
I
have
was
such a
going
small
right
house. I mean, you had to get it up quick.
away. Talk to my wife. I just go to work.
So it's
Ron told me
maybe a
it's cheaper
silly
to keep
question,
her.
but Ron, Ron, it's being as Nancy's in the plotting and everything, is there anything that she could do to make anything work there or help out anything? Probably not, being it's SBA, huh?
Right.
No, it's not, it has nothing to do with the platting and the replat, that's already been done. And that was a necessity.
Okay.
And then once that was a necessity, I've been in contact with them and immediately, and I sent them all the plats, I sent them the legal descriptions, I've sent them all the documents that were signed to explain why it needed to be done in the first place and what we were trying to accomplish. And it's pretty much crickets, other
Yeah.
than when I call and I talk to somebody, they tell me I have to call a different apartment or whatever, and then I've written a number of
Or you
different
sit on
times.
hold for hours.
Yeah, and
You know how it goes, the only time you hear from them is when they want to talk
When
to
they
you.
want something.
Yeah, when they want money.
Doesn't matter what entity it is.
Yeah.
No. So, no, that's great. We're all on the same page. Motion to adjourn.
Move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Same, all opposed, same sign. Brian, come on now.
Dude,
What do we gotta argue about?
ready to go.
Thank you, everyone. July 9th.
We'll see ya. Thanks, everyone.
Same time, same place.